بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Alhamdulillah, we begin our lesson in Aqaid Nasafiyya by praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for this opportunity for us to continue in our lessons, and we pray that Allah bless us with tawfiq and hidayah, and that Allah make this lesson a reason where our sins are forgiven, our prayers are answered. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us from all difficulties, trials and tribulations in dunya and akhirah. And may Allah bless us in husnul khatimah and gather us our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam yawm al-qiyamah. Ameen ya rabbal alameen. So inshallah ta'ala, before we continue from where we stopped in our last lesson, as usual, what I will do, I will just do a bit of summary of some of the things that we mentioned in the commentary of Al-Imam Al-Taftazani. Just to remind those who are following that we are still in the Muqaddimah of Al-Imam Al-Taftazani. Al-Imam Al-Taftazani who comment on Aqaid Nasafiyya of Al-Imam Al-Nasafi, and he mentioned a few things as what we mentioned. So in our last lesson, we spoke about the debate between Sheikh Al-Jubba'i and Al-Imam Abu Hasan Al-Ash'ari. I will not repeat that again. That is a bit lengthy, but I hope that it is clear, inshallah. I don't think there is much difficulty in understanding some of the things that you mentioned. And then he mentioned about some history that happened in the past. And this is the thing that inshallah I will mention again. Just to recap about some of the things that happened in the past, and it is important for us Muslims, especially those who are learning Ilmul Kalam, to learn history and what happened in the early days of Islam, when the Greek philosophies entered into the Muslim world. So what happened in the last time, during the time of the Caliph Harun al-Rashid, and in particular, he has deep interest to translate this Greek philosophies into the Arabic language. So he established what is called as the Baytul Hikmah. I think a lot of us we have heard about Baytul Hikmah established in Baghdad during the golden age of the Abbasid Caliph, or the Abbasid Caliphate, and it is the time of Harun al-Rashid that he established this Baytul Hikmah. And one of the things that were done during that particular time is the translation of books of non-Arabic into the Arabic language. So what they did in last time is they have different sections of translation. They have translations of the Persian language into Arabic, from the Greek language into Arabic, from Arabic into Arabic. So they have different branches, and even they have a branch of translation for Chinese. Even the Chinese language were translated into the Arabic language, and likewise the language of Hindustan were translated into the Arabic language. So the Muslims at that particular time they reach this pinnacle where they are able to access all different forms and philosophies, not only the Greek philosophies, but also philosophies of the East, the philosophies of the Chinese, the philosophies of the Indians. And all these philosophies were present much earlier before the coming of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So they translated the work into the Arabic language, and they start to study. Of course, they start to study these philosophies, and then after that they take what is benefit, and they remove what is not benefit. And they also mention in the books of Aqidah, or in the books of Ilmul Kalam. So this is one the author mentioned that the scholars last time what they did was when they teach the knowledge of Aqidah, they at the same time also they mention about some of these philosophies that they encountered, and they rebutted what you call it, the philosophies that are against the Islamic beliefs. So it is kind of something that is mentioned in the books of Aqidah. So this is what happened in the past. So as a result, what happened, you have a book that is the book of Ilmul Kalam, or the book of Aqidah, but inside this book there is mentioning of such philosophies of the people of the West, and also the people of the East. So this happened last time when they engage the philosophies of those who were present in those times. So this is basically some historical fact that the Al-Imam At-Taftazani is mentioning. And then he mentioned in a nutshell. Let us go back to the Arabic, and if you can refer to the English translation. He mentioned after that, he said wabil jumlati huwa ashraful ulum. Wabil jumlati huwa ashraful ulum. Ashraful ulum, what is the meaning? And he is saying that this knowledge of ilmul kalam is the noblest knowledge of all. If you compare, for example, the knowledge of kalam and the knowledge of fiqh, and which is more important and more noble, the knowledge of kalam, which I will mention anyway. If you compare the knowledge of kalam and the knowledge of tasawwuf, which is more important, the knowledge of kalam. If you compare the knowledge of usul, so it goes on like that. All knowledges, even we compare knowledge of science or knowledge of physics or technology, the knowledge of kalam is the noblest form of all knowledges. Basically, what is the reason why we saying this? Because knowledge of kalam, it is a study about the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is a study of the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and there is nothing any more noble than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the knowledge that brings you to understand your maker, to understand the creator, to understand Allah, is the knowledge that is the noblest. When we say that there is nothing that is greater than Allah himself. So the knowledge that a person is equipped with to understand about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala must be the knowledge that is above all knowledges. So that is why we say the knowledge of ilmul kalam is the noblest of all, knowledge. So he mentioned wabil jumlati huwa ashraful ulum likawnihi asasal ahkam syar'iyyah. Because the knowledge of kalam, ilmul kalam, it is the foundation of the sharia. It is the foundation of the rulings of the sharia. So last time we mentioned the connection between the knowledge of aqidah, knowledge of kalam, with other knowledges. And we mentioned that the knowledge of aqidah, knowledge of al-kalam, it is the foundation. It is the foundation. Whereas other knowledges is the branch from this. The branch from this foundation. So the foundation is Islam, and it goes back to the kalima la ilaha illallah Muhammadun Rasulullah. This is the foundation of this deen. Every knowledge is built upon the belief that there is no God but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Here we are speaking about knowledge of the Sharia. Knowledge that goes back to the revelation that were given to prophets and messengers. So all of this goes back to iman. Goes back to belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that is why it is the base, and it is the foundation of all knowledges. So he mentioned wa ra'is al-ulum ad-diniyah, and it is the leader of all the knowledges that are associated with the religion of Islam. So the knowledges within Islam, we have usulul fiqh, we have the knowledge of tasawwuf, the knowledge of tafsir, the knowledge of hadith, the knowledge of mustalah, and all these knowledges in comparison to the knowledge of al-kalam, ilmul kalam. Ilmul kalam is the leader of all knowledges, meaning it is the base and the foundations where all knowledges come from, and it is the most noblest, and that's what we mentioned, due to its importance as it leads a person to understand who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is. وَكَوْنُ مَعْلُومَاتِهِ الْعَقَائِدِيَّةِ الْإِسْلَامِيَّةِ. And the things that were discussed in this particular knowledge has got to do with the faith in Islam. ورايته الفوز بالسعادات الدينية والدنيوية. And the goals of learning any knowledge of al-kalam, that a person will attain success, al-fawz. A person will attain salvation and felicity in dunya and also in akhirah. It is by having any faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is knowledge that brings a person to the right path. That will bring a person to the path into Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it is the leader of all, the leader of all knowledges. We are living at a time where we are surrounded by many ideologies out there. As we are speaking, for example, we are speaking about the knowledge of aqidah, knowledge of kalam, that it is the most virtuous of knowledges, the most important knowledge, the leader of all knowledges, the foundation of this deen, and so on and so forth. There are ideologies out there who will question why is this so, and why is that so, and there are a lot of Muslims who have doubt pertaining to this. So this is the situation that we are in. People have doubt in the existence of Allah. There are Muslims out there, they have doubt even in the existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There are people who have doubt behind the obligation of prayers, or the obligation of hijab, or the obligation of fasting in the month of Ramadan. Even you tell people, for example, remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, people have doubt. People ask you the question, why must we remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Why must we make salawat upon the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam? So all these things are related to ilmul kalam. All these things are related to ilmul kalam. People have doubt pertaining to what you call it, is Islam the religion that is the only accepted religion by God, or is the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam indeed a messenger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So all these questions are asked by people, and we are surrounded by a lot of these ideologies and a lot of these questions. And who are the one who is going to answer these questions, and who is the one who is going to teach and to propagate this knowledge? It is the scholar of kalam. It is the scholar of kalam, and we acknowledge that these things are happening. This shows the importance of learning this knowledge, so that we are able to answer these questions that are arising day by day. So we as Muslims, it is important for us to pay attention to this, because a lot of us Muslims we are lacking in this knowledge. So as a result, people are not convinced about the religion of Islam, especially those who have doubts. Even amongst the Muslims, there is a high rate of people who apostate. For example, even in our country. And one of the reasons is that we do not equip the common people with the required knowledges that they are able to rebut some of these thoughts that are happening in their minds, and having all these doubts for the reason that they are hearing things, and they are mixing with people who does not believe in the existence of God, or people who are living in doubt, or people who are agnostic, or people who are atheists. So the Muslim youth is surrounded by all these things, and he doesn't have this knowledge on how he is able to safeguard his iman. So this is the challenge that we Muslims we are facing today, and the solution to this problem is to study ilmul kalam. There is no other solution except that we have to go into and study all these books of ilmul kalam. For example, the book of Ummul Barahin by Al-Imam Sanusi, very important for beginners to begin with. Likewise, Kharida Bahiyya, and books like Aqidah Tahawiyya, and Jawhara Tawheed, and likewise Aqaid and Nasafiyya. All these books are books that will strengthen the foundations and also the understanding of the Muslim who is living in these waves of challenges that he's facing in what you call it, in his mind. Then he mentioned وَبَرَاهِينُهُ الْحُجَّجُ الْقَطَعِيَّةُ الْمُؤَيَّدُ أَكْثَرُهَا بِالْأَدِلَّةِ السَّمْعِيَّةِ وَمَا نُقِلَ عَنْ بَعْدِ السَّلَفِ. Then he mentioned that وَبَرَاهِينُهُ الْحُجَّجُ الْقَطَعِيَّةِ, that the evidences or the proofs behind this knowledge, or the notions of this knowledge, it is proofs that are based on qat'iyya. Yani qat'iyya meaning it is based on conviction and necessary knowledge. It is based on conviction and necessary any knowledge, and it is not any based any on doubt, or it is not any based any on the higher any probability or higher possibility, but it is based any on conviction. This is any the beauty any of our religion, that when comes any to the foundations any of this deen, it is based any on proofs any that are based any on yaqeen. Qat'iyya any here meaning any in our language any we say yaqeen. Yaqeen any meaning any 100% any conviction, any dalil any that is based on dalil that is based any on yaqeen. So for example, any in Islam, any when we speak any about the existence any of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it is based any on dalil yaqiniyah, adillatul yaqiniyah, both any in aqliyah and also naqliyah. So we have any the dalil in the Quran, any for example, any we believe any the Quran any no doubt any that it is any a revelation any from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, any by all its miracles any that are mentioned any in the Quran, and that it is we inherit any the Quran any from generations, millions and billions any of people and in generations. So it came any to us any by mass any transmitted any reports, and this is any knowledge any based any on yaqeen. And likewise in the contents any of the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in mention qul huwallahu ahad, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala yani is one, and his existence and he is wajib, lam yalid wa lam yulad. He is not does not any give birth to and not given birth by. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wal awwalu wal akhiru wal zahiru wal batinu, that he is any the first and the last, he has no beginning and he has no any ending. And this is also aided any by proofs any that are based any on the intellectual any proofs any dalil aqliyah any we say that it is impossible any for this universe any to come into existence any without the one any who brought it any into existence, any when this universe any is contingent. All this any we spoke about any when we covered Aqidah Sanusiyah, any that is a commentary of Barahin in our last any kitab. So all this any are an example any of proofs any that are based any on yaqeen. So the principles any within this knowledge of ilmul kalam, the proofs any behind it are based any on dalil and qat'iyah. Dalil and qat'iyah, yani dalil and is based any on conviction. This is any the strength any of our belief any in Islam. That is why it is wajib any upon every Muslim to study the knowledge any of aqidah, and together any with the adillah, to remove any himself any from taqlid, because taqlid in aqidah is not permitted. A person any is sinful any if he is a muqallid. So how any do you remove any yourself any from taqlid? By learning the evidences. So it is not any enough any to learn 20 attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is wajib any upon all of us any after any learning any the attributes any of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we have any to learn the adillah, the evidences. The evidences any there are two types, and we have the rational evidences and we have the textual any evidences. Textual evidences any refers any to the Quran any and the Sunnah. So it is any important any for us any to again and again any to speak any about this, because any this a lot any lacking a jama'ah any in our society, any we are lacking any in this, knowledge. This is any a reality, and if you don't believe me, any you can see any how many classes any of ilmul kalam any are conducted any in Singapore. How many classes of aqidah, yani learning, for example, books like Barahin, books any like Kharida Bahiyya. These are books any that are of great any importance, but maybe any you can find any one or two any lessons any going on. So it is a concern, and it is a serious any issue any that we are in, and it is not any something any that is what you call it to be taken any lightly. This is any of great any importance. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless us any with tawfiq. So the author any mentioned any wa barahinuhu, the proofs any behind any this knowledge of ilmul kalam is based any on al-hujajul qat'iyyah, yani evidences any that are of conviction, al-mu'ayyad aktsaruha bil adillati sam'iyyah, and most of it yani are aided yani with the evidences any of sam'iyyah. Evidences of sam'iyyah goes back any to textual any evidences any of the Quran and the Sunnah. This is where we say dalil sam'i. Dalil and sam'i, and dalil and it goes back and to what you call it, the Quran and the Sunnah. Wama nuqila, then he speak about something else. So what you call it, like in English, and we need to put a full stop here. There is a full stop. So when Al-Imam Taftazani, for example, and speaks about the virtue of learning this knowledge, and then after that, and he mentioned the significance of this knowledge, and in comparison with other knowledges, he mentioned that this is the leader of all knowledges, and the foundations of all knowledges, and the most noble of all knowledges. And then he mentioned some of the scholars of the Salaf. Scholars of the Salaf are the people who live in the first 300 years of Hijrah, the pious predecessors. It is narrated that some of them, do not encourage any learning this knowledge. Do not encourage any learning and propagating this knowledge. So now he will explain why you find some of the early scholars, they speak about ilmul kalam, and they do not encourage this learning and in depth about ilmul kalam. So he mentioned this, and as though Al-Imam Taftazani is telling us that ilmul kalam is very important, that is the best of all knowledges, the most noble of all knowledges. At the same time also, if you come across sayings of the pious, some of the pious predecessors, that they do not encourage this ilmul kalam, it is for a specific reason that happened during their time. So it is a part in history last time that they are exposed to certain happenings and certain things that happen that make them have such such beliefs. So it is an issue of historical period that they are experiencing. So he mentioned وَمَا نُقِلَ عَنْ بَعْدِ السَّلَفِ مِنَ الطَّعْنِ فِيهِ وَالْمَنْعِ عَنْهُ فَإِنَّمَا هُوَ لِلْمُتَعَصِّبِ فِي الدِّينِ. So why does the early scholars last time, when they do not encourage people to learn to learn ilmul kalam, what they are referring to is people who have this ta'assub in themselves. Ta'assub is a kind of extremism. Last time for example during the time of the pious predecessors, and you have groups like the Mu'tazila. We are speaking about those who are who has established themselves last time. You have the group of the Khawarij. You also have the Shia for example. So they are known for their fanatism in their belief to such an extent, and they believe that they are the ones who is right, and the rest who is wrong. So for these people the muta'assib, they discourage to teach ilmul kalam to these people, because it is like giving a tool to the robber, because their intention of learning this knowledge is to find weaknesses in the creed of the Ahlus Sunnah. So the early scholars they prevent the ulama to teach ilmul kalam to the public, to teach ilmul kalam to the public, and because they know if you go in public, people who are misguided and so on, and they have hatred towards the ulama or hatred towards Ahlus Sunnah, they will take this knowledge not for benefit, but they use this knowledge to further cause issues in the society by due to their misguidance that they have adapted. So this is one of the reasons that Al-Imam Taftazani mentioned that the early scholars, they prevent the ulama to teach the ilmul kalam to the general public, but they do not prevent to teach to the khawas, people of talab al-ilm, students of knowledge, who can benefit from this knowledge. And then after that he mentioned huwa lil muta'assib fi din. This point number 1. Wal qasiri an tahsil al yaqin. Wal qasiri an tahsil al yaqin wal qasiri ila ifsadi aqaid al muslimin. This one basically I mentioned number 1, it is for people who have extremist inclinations, because they can cause harms further harms to the society by using this knowledge to further cause deviation in the hearts of the common people. And number 2, it is those who have this inclination of causing doing acts that are evil, or acts that are giving problems to the society. So it is about the same meaning, and he said al-qasiri an tahsil al-yaqin wal qasiri ila ifsadi aqaid al-muslimin. والخائض فيما لا يفتقر إليه من روامد المتفلسفين وإلا فكيف يتصور المنع عما هو أصل الواجبات وأساس المشروعات. Yani point number 3, and he said that for people who are not in need any of this knowledge, for people who are not in need of this knowledge, if they are living in a society where there are no ideologies and they have come to a state of conviction of iman, without they have from learning about the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or the attributes of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they are not in need of this knowledge as a rebuttal to the ideologies that were not present in the society that they live in. So for these people our scholars, they prevent the ulama to teach ilmul kalam, because one of the aspects, as what I mentioned last time, one of the aspects of ilmul kalam, it is not only learning about aqidah, but it is about how we are able to defend if some people, for example, causing any doubt about some of the beliefs within aqidah, or some ideologies out there that are damaging for example in the against the beliefs of Islam. So not ilmul kalam, it is a tool for us to repel those false ideologies and to maintain what you call it, the proofs within the beliefs that we believe in. So if in a case that we need to use some of these tools in ilmul kalam to defend and to explain, if there is a need to, then only it becomes an obligation. But for people who are not in need, if they are living for example in villages where they are not exposed to any ideologies except to the religion of Islam, then it is not appropriate for a scholar of kalam to expose them to some philosophies of the West, or philosophies of the East, and how the Muslims rebut these philosophies, because all these things might what you call it might confuse them, and they are common people, especially when they are common people and they do not have the ability to think what you call it that far. So it can be a reason of doubt. So that is why so many of the scholars in the past, they prevent the ulama in teaching the common people the knowledge of ilmul kalam. But today our situation is totally different. And today we are living, whether we are living in Singapore or we are living in other parts of the world, the reality is that the Muslims are exposed to many kinds of ideologies within the sects within Islam and outside Islam, Western philosophy and Eastern philosophy, and atheism, and all these the things that is happening in our generation and the generation before us, and things are coming, and new things are coming, and people are forming up new religion, and people are speaking about what you call it, the issue of LGBT and all these things. So these are all things related to ilmul kalam. So today we cannot be saying that it is not appropriate for ilmul kalam to be taught in our society, and we are using a specific historic period or a situation that the pious predecessors are speaking about, for example, that happened 1,000 years ago, and we are applying the same thing and we are putting in the society that we are in now. So this is not permissible. This is not permissible, because last time they are speaking about the issue that they are facing and the time that they are living. The time that they are living is different than the time that we are living. So that is why we have to understand our situation. We have to understand the society that we are living in. We have to understand the time that we are living in, and what are the knowledges that we are in need to propagate, and before that for us to defend ourselves and to protect ourselves and to protect ourselves against any doubts in religion, and all these things requires the knowledge of ilmul kalam. As what I mentioned earlier, nowadays people ask you why you pray. People ask you, does God exist? People have doubts for example about the Quran, subhanallah, and people have doubts about the hadith, and now you have, for example, people who doesn't believe in the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and people are saying all these things cannot be we cannot believe if they are true. So we want to hold on only to the Quran. So we have a sect now they call themselves the Quranic group, and it is and they are present in Singapore. There are people who believe there is a prophet after the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. how any you explain any all these things. People any questioning any, for example, about women's any rights. People are questioning any about certain stories any in the Quran, any for example, about any Zulkarnain or about any Ashabul Kahfi. People are questioning any about even any about Nabi Isa alayhi salam. Things any people have doubt any in a lot of things any within any the Quran, and people have doubt any on revelation any, for example, that Allah gave any to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. People any have doubt any about certain events any that happened during the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and so on and so forth. So we are surrounded any by many issues any many issues, as though that everything any in Islam there are people any who will say any something any about or doubt. So the job any of the mutakallim, yani scholar any of kalam, yani in this age, mashallah, yani if I were to view it and I were to look any into this perspective, it is a very it is a busy work, busy job that requires any a lot any of attention, and that required a lot of research in your jama'ah, as though yani every notion yani there is doubt, people any have doubt any on it. Every notion any people criticize or people any give any their opinion that's contrary any to the Islamic any belief. So you are in need any of explaining, and who is the one any who is going any to do any this explaining? Who is the one any who is going to come forth any with the barahin al-hujaj al-qati'ah, as what Imam Taftazani any mentioned? Who is the one any who is going any to derive any all these any proofs and evidences, and with this understanding, and to explain that this is such and this is such, and this is any the truth and this is any false, and why any it is false, why it is the truth. This is the evidence, and the evidence any is based any on qat'iyyah, and it is not any based any on doubt. Rational evidences. Likewise, we have the textual any evidences. There are people any who does not believe in the textual any evidences, and we bring forth the evidences any based any on the rational any evidences. So all these things any it is a job any of the scholar of kalam. But if we don't pay attention any to this knowledge, and we don't understand any this knowledge, then yani, our society yani will drown yani in the sea of doubt in ya jama'ah, in the sea any of doubt. And a lot of people any are influenced any by Immanuel Kant. Immanuel Kant any saying any, for example, religion yani what you call it cannot any be established, because any it is beyond any space any and time, and it is beyond any physics, and you cannot prove the truth any of religions. And this basically any what any is saying, and many people any are believing any what any he is saying, and this create any doubt any in the minds any of the youths, any if they are not equipped any with knowledge any of aqidah and understanding any the evidences any behind, then they learn any some any of these philosophies, then this will lead any to them any disbelieving any in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, na'udzubillah min zalik. And this is happening. So this is a thing any that I'm not trying any to what you call it cause any fear or something like that, but this is the reality. This is any the reality. I personally any met youths any who came to me, and they left Islam in Singapore, and they came to the masjid any to have any discussion, and they straight away any day, the first thing any day, they tell me that they are not Muslims. They used any to be to be Muslim, and they attend any classes, and when they are young, they learn what you call it sirah, and they learn all these things, and then after that any day, what you call it come any to a stage anywhere they decided any not to believe in Islam any anymore. And you will find any one of the reasons any when they mix any with what you call it atheists any, for example, or they learn any about philosophy, and they don't have any guidance, and then they come any to this any kind of conclusion. So this is something any that is very any important any in the time any that we are living, and it is any an effort any that not only for me, but any for all of us any to base any on our capacity, base any on our own capacity. Today any we need any to learn any this knowledge, and if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you any with mashallah any with understanding, then it becomes what you call it, it becomes any a responsibility any that at least you are able any to propagate and to share this knowledge any to fellow Muslims, and because many people are in need of this knowledge without them knowing any about this. Because people now any people are confused any, for example, people any they are confused, and they do not know any how any to go about in any this scrambling any of ideologies any that they are in. So they are in need any of this knowledge any to be equipped any with themselves. So going back into what Al-Imam Taftazani and he mentioned, it is a period in history that our scholars and he was speaking about. And also any last time we have what you call it, any debates in Aqidah that leads to fights and leads to things that are bad. So that is why some of the scholars they prevent some of their students for engaging in such debates and telling them to focus on spirituality or focus on certain other things. But it doesn't mean that they do not learn any knowledge of Al-Kalam. But they, what you call it, told to not to engage in such debates of such, because usually those who are engaging in such debates and that leads to a lot of enmity and problems, they are the Deviant sects. Then Al-Imam Taftazani he mentioned wa illa fa kaifa yutasawwar. So for those who have the kitab, I want you to underline this part. Now this is very, very important, and this is the summary of basically what Al-Imam Taftazani is saying. So if you look at the English translation, if you go down page 21, page 22, okay, this last paragraph, and if you have any highlighter, and you highlight in this, ya Jama'ah. So what is Imam Taftazani is saying now? Yani he said otherwise how can it be possible to prohibit that thing which is the very root of the wajibat? It doesn't make sense, what you call it, that our scholars prevent people from learning the basics of religion or the foundations of this religion. That is the belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How can a person prevent others from learning this knowledge? So what Al-Imam Taftazani is saying, that so many of the early scholars who are preventing the common people or preventing the scholars of Kalam from engaging or from teaching such knowledges to such people, it is a situation that they are facing, a specific situation that they are facing, because of the situation that we can lead to so many issues because of the emergence of such deviant sects. So to protect the common people from being influenced by this deviant sects, they do not encourage that this knowledge is taught openly, because such people will use this knowledge to further cause damage. So now he's saying that it is not because of ilmul kalam, but it is because of the situation. Tamam. That is why I mentioned before this a lot about our situation. So now today it is a time for us to ponder upon our situation and to come into a conclusion on the importance of learning ilmul kalam, and why it is important to learn ilmul kalam, and what are the steps that we need to take today to what you call it, to engage. Because now we Muslims we are not engaging in anything. We are not engaging in what you call it, this intellectual discourse of some philosophical arguments when they speak about Islam and so on and so forth. Because we do not have the foundations of this knowledge of ilmul kalam, as what I mentioned. So here he's saying that how can it be possible for a scholar of Islam to prohibit a knowledge that is the root of the wajibat, the root of the foundations of Islam, which is wajib upon every Muslim to study, and the foundation of the legislated matters, the foundation of the ahkam syar'iyyah. And as what we mentioned, knowledge of kalam, ilmul kalam is not ilmul aqidah, and it is the foundation of this deen. How can it be possible that learning this knowledge be prohibited when it is the foundation of Islam? So this is basically what he is saying. Now inshallah we go on into the next part, and this is the last paragraph inshallah. After this you see below here, this is Aqaid Nasafiyah. This is the beginning of Aqaid Nasafiyah. Qala Ahlul Haqq. Taib. So now we are left one paragraph inshallah, I will complete this paragraph, and this is we will lesson for today, and inshallah next week onwards inshallah we will enter into the matan of Aqaid Nasafiyah. Clear inshallah. Next week onwards we will enter into the matan of Aqaid Nasafiyah. So now he goes on to say the reason why Al-Imam Nasafi is starting off the Aqaid and Nasafiyah to speak about some common things. What is the reason? This is the reason, he said. ثُمَّ لَمَّا كَانَ مَبْنَ عِلْمِ الْكَلَامِ على الاستدلال بوجود المحدثات على وجود الصانع وتوحيده وصفاته وأفعاله. So he said that once we have understood that the foundation of the knowledge of ilmul kalam, it is based on evidences, or bringing forth any evidences on the existence of the created beings, al-muhdathat, created beings. And first we look at this is the way of Imam Nasafi, basically. We look at the creations around us. This is a muhdathat. I am a muhdath. Muhdath meaning hadith. Hadith meaning something that is created from nothingness. Something whose existence is preceded by non-existence, and it is the definition of hadith. So when we ponder upon the muhdathat around us, when we look at human beings, we look at animals, we look at the mountains, we look at the skies, and we look at the earth, and we understood that these are contingent beings. These are contingent beings. One of the reasons is because they are subjected to change. They are subjected to change, and everything is changing. Last time we are small, now we are an adult. Last time we were an infant, now we are an adult. And some people have come into an old age, and last time they were young, and then they become old. Sometimes we are healthy, sometimes we are sick. So all this change is an evidence that we are contingent beings. We are contingent beings, and we are not any necessary beings, because necessary beings are not subjected to change, are not subjected not subjected to change. So only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, his existence is necessary. His existence is wajib. Other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the existence is mumkin. And this is the meaning of muhdathat. So when we understand the things around us is contingent, then we understand that there is a creator. So contingent beings has a beginning. And when you have something that is brought into existence from non-existence, meaning there is an originator. In philosophy we call it an originator that brought it into existence. So this is one of the evidences behind the existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So by pondering upon the creations, we can come to a conclusion, the existence of the creator. Ala wujud is sani'. Then from the muhdathat we come to the conclusion on the existence of the sani'. As-sani' is a creator. Wa tawheedihi. And also to understand about his oneness. His one also we can understand through rational arguments. All this we have covered in Sanusiya. In Sanusiya when we spoke about Burhanu Tamanu, and if you can remember Burhanu Tamanu, the evidences behind that why God must be one necessarily. Why God is what you call it one, wahdaniya, we spoke about wahdaniya fi dhat, wahdaniya fi sifat, wahdaniya fil af'al. Oneness in the entity of Allah, oneness in the attributes of Allah, and oneness in the actions of Allah. Wa sifatihi wa af'alihi. This is what we mentioned. Thumma minha ila sa'iri sam'iyat. And then after speaking about the attributes, then we speak about the sam'iyat, the things of the unseen. Believing in akhirah, believing in the adab of qabr, and so on and so forth. So these are some of the sequence that some scholars of Kalam they begin their kitab with. They begin by speaking about the muhdathat, the created beings, and then they speak about the existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and his attributes, and then they goes to speak about the sam'iyat. ناسب تصدير الكتاب بتنبيه على وجود ما يشاهد من الأعيان والأعراض. So Al-Imam Taftazani is explaining that Al-Imam Nasafi begin in Aqaid al-Nasafiyya to speak about the muhdathat, the contingent beings, and dividing them based on their entity and also their attributes or accidents. Why is the reason? So the reason is what he mentioned earlier. This is one of the ways that we begin by speaking about the things that we witness. So that is the reason why Al-Imam Nasafi begins his kitab by speaking about entities and accidents. وتحقق العلم بهما ليتوصل بذلك إلى معرفة ما هو المقصود الأهم. And the reason why he began speaking about entities and accidents of created beings or contingent beings, because this is the path to understand the creator, that is the goal, or that is the most important aspect in the knowledge of al-kalam. فَقَالَ قَالَ أَهْلُ الْحَقِّ. Then he mentioned قَالَ أَهْلُ الْحَقِّ. Yani قَالَ أَهْلُ الْحَقِّ, and that's what we mentioned. This is the words of who? The words of Al-Imam An-Nasafi. So now Al-Imam Taftazani is entering into Aqaid Nasafiyah. And as what I mentioned previously, that we will enter into Aqaid Nasafiyah, inshallah. We will concentrate on the matan. So we will not be learning about the commentary of Al-Imam Taftazani. We concentrate on the text first, because this is what is important, and so that it becomes easy for many of you who are following. Once we have completed the text, then inshallah ta'ala, if we have time in the future, then we go one more round, for example, and to cover so many of the things that is mentioned by Al-Imam Taftazani. But on my side, of course, if I find if there is anything of great importance that has to be highlighted from the commentary of Al-Imam Taftazani, inshallah, I will write it down and I will share with all of you, inshallah ta'ala. So inshallah, for today, we will stop here, and we will enter into Aqaid Nasafiyah and in the matan of Aqaid Nasafiyah next week. And I promise the class in Abdul Razak that I will give you the notes of the translation of Aqaid Nasafiyah. I already have the translation. The only thing is that I have not placed the Arabic text together with the English text. So this is what, inshallah, if I do not have time by next week, and I hope if there is someone who wants to help out, you can contact me, and inshallah I will be happy if anyone can help out. And you basically need to do like this. And if you see this text here, you have the Arabic and you have the English. So in all my classes, I will like to have like that, because I will teach based on Arabic text. Translations is just to assist, because what you call it, translations at times very difficult to get 100% meaning. So that is why I don't depend on translations. And those who have been following my classes, you should know. So if there is any one of you who wants to volunteer to compile the Arabic and the English, which I can send, and then you can make it into nicely, inshallah, into good notes in PDF, and then we can share. But if not, what I will do, if I don't have the time, I will just maybe do page by page, inshallah, based on what I'm what you call it, cover for that particular day. So inshallah ta'ala, we will stop here, inshallah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah rabbil alamin. Allahumma salli wa sallim ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala ali sayyidina Muhammad. Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanah wa fil akhirati hasanah wa qina adhaban nar. Sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi. Alhamdulillah rabbil alamin.